Welcome.
Welcome to the Ethereal Podcast, episode 3.
Season 2.
We are your hosts, Dom
And Saige.
Why are you doing that voice?
It's your fault. It's your fault.
Happens in mine.
You played that stupid thing, and now my brain's just like, that was so funny.
It's like we must do code now.
Yeah. It was like, oh, I thought it was funny that you said your name like she was talking, so then it just stuck in my head for a moment.
It's fair. I'm doing the 8-week breathwork program, and everybody is in Australia besides me.
Love that. So it's just crazy time zone.
Well, not only is it crazy time zone, but I hear everybody with their Australian accents, and I've been having to consciously stop myself from speaking in an accent because now I know even more like
what it really sounds like.
Yeah, because sometimes I would mix like English and Australian together, and
I'm good at accents. I hear them and I understand them, but I can't do them because how it sounds when I speak doesn't sound like it does in my head.
G'day, mate.
I'm getting stage fright. I don't, because I'm like, it's gonna be so bad. I'm good at doing weird accents, but I could never put a name to them. Any accent I've ever done, they're like, "Oh, that's a bull." I'm like, "No, just a weird voice." And they're like, "No, that sounds like a English accent." I'm like, "It's not." It's just a weird.
What if it is?
I just don't believe it.
Why?
Because I've never met a British person in real life, so I'm not gonna trust media for how it's supposed to sound. I feel like it could be a lie.
So, like, you wouldn't trust a TV show?
I guess it depends on the show. Like, if it was like Love Island, I'd believe it. Like, when I see like Chloe on Love Island from I don't know what season she was on, but
Chloe.
It sounds like what's that? H2O.
Yeah, they were in Australia.
Chloe.
Oh no, Chloe. No, wait, it's Cleo. Oh no, Cleo. Why did I think it was Chloe? I don't think I've ever met anybody in America named Cleo.
I've never met anyone named Cleo, period. She's the only Cleo I know.
Okay, same, period.
The original, the OG. I used to love that show, and
I loved it.
When I was in Florida last year, somehow me and Riley ended up watching H2O on the phone for a little bit on like YouTube, and I was really getting sucked in. I just forgot about it. I was supposed to finish it. I forgot it's on YouTube.
Yeah, I started rewatching it. I think me and her started rewatching it. And
I wish I was still like a heavy like drinker sometimes, like, because it'd be fun to watch the show and do a shot every time they say Cleo weird. Because every time it's Cleo, never.
Well, they're saying it with their accent.
No, because I've heard them on the show say it normal. They've said it and it didn't sound as crazy as it sounds the rest of the show. It's like every now and again they'll say it and it sounds like Australian, but it's the other times they lengthen the
dramatize it.
Yeah, and it just
because usually they're yelling at her
because she's popping a fin in the water.
She's popping it. Oh no.
I feel like they add like an R in there at the end when they're being dramatic. It's like it ends in an R instead of O anymore. They like really like round that R. Yeah. What the fuck? This started.
I don't know. We don't know what we're doing today, guys.
Yeah, we're just winging it. So
I guess we can pick one of our random topics.
There's another. The real authentic selves.
We've got a pile of ideas here. Do the honors. Why are you closing?
Like, I didn't want to realize which one I was picking up. I didn't want anyone to feel like I was thinking that they were better than the other.
Continue.
Being okay, being alone, because you're never alone.
Wow. Okay. All right.
That's a fair topic.
That is, because I feel like that's quite literally what we've been working on for the last couple of months.
I feel like I've been working on it for a while. Honestly, I feel like I've reached it in different stages, because at first I had to reach it in this weird stage of, I think, the DID, where I was like, no, like, you're like mentally, you're literally never alone, bitch. And then after a while, I was like, yeah, but
You were too far from it. I couldn't hear you that well.
I forgot what I was saying.
The first stage of being alone.
I was like, at first it was like being alone mentally and recognizing you're not like alone, like you're still interacting with your thoughts and you can still like interject in opposite ways. So it feels like conversational. But also once you get past that part, then you have to be okay with physically being alone, your actual body being alone, because your body is a social creature, so it does crave being around other people. But we've gotten very used as a society to never being alone, that it's like it almost feels weird, or people will be like, it's really boring. And I'm like, why is it boring when you're alone?
Right.
Like when you're alone, you just go, well, someone messages you to go hang out. Like, dude, like, you know, like I understand like sometimes you get alone, but there are people who literally like, oh, I never am alone because I'm so bored when I'm alone. I'm like, you should work on that.
Yeah.
Like you should work on that. Like I get, you know, if you're alone a lot, get bored, you want to do other shit and like be around people. But I think it is like a very uneven balance that people have of like the amount of time they're alone versus with people.
Agreed. I feel like over the last couple of months, I've been really making the transition of becoming more balanced in that, because I have a lot of alone time now, especially since roommates moved out and then Britt moved out. And
you have like a conventional like job where you're around like, you know, like coworkers. So that's what kind of like where I'm not as alone. You won't say I moved out was because I have no like work around people. So I can imagine you have a lot more like busy time.
Yeah. And I interact with people throughout the day, and like I go to jiu-jitsu and everything, and you know, meeting with clients and whatnot. But lately I've just fallen more and more in love with being alone, because like at first it was like what you said. I was like, I'm bored. I don't know what to do. And then that conversation we had one time when you were like, pretend like the inner version of you is your best friend. You know what your best friend likes to do for fun. So like, okay, do you want to play guitar? Nah. No. Do you want to draw? Oh, that could be fun. Yeah, let's break out some art supplies. Do you want to learn about something? Let's read a book. Let's Google something about breath work and read about it. Yeah. So I started doing that, and now I'm like, when I make my to-do list for the day, I already know what fun activities I want to do at the end of the day when I'm by myself. So I'll write them in my daily planner. And then sometimes it'll roll around. I'm like, I don't really feel like playing guitar right now. And sometimes I won't. And sometimes I'll be like, look, you need to practice. You haven't played in like 2 days. You do want to get better. So let's look at this like a, instead of a fun activity, just something for growth, progress, whatever.
Class.
Yeah.
Homework.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, so like homework. Especially since you do actually like go to lessons. So it's considered like homework and studying.
It is. I played my drums this morning, and every time I say practice to my teacher, he's like, no, don't practice. You play. Fair. Practice sounds like homework, sounds like work. And I'm like, well,
sometimes you need to believe it's homework, so you'll do it. That's called you're still working on executive dysfunction, and sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do to get the
I know.
like sometimes I'm like, it's not an option, babe. You gotta do it. And then after I'm like, I see that I didn't have to do it, but I am glad I did it. And I see that I kind of had to tell myself I had to, or I wasn't going to do it.
Yeah, that's what I kind of tried to explain to Roger. I was like, I have to look at it as homework and practicing because my executive dysfunction. And he was like, okay, whatever you got to do, but it just doesn't sound like fun. Just have fun. And I'm like, well, I am having fun until I get frustrated because I can't make the
Yeah, I've heard drums are pretty hard to learn. I don't know what's the
they are and they aren't at the same time. It's like it's easy, but getting your damn left hand to do what
that's
your right hand
that's
does, I'm thing. Like doing this all day long.
That's what you were doing that earlier for. I was wondering what the fuck that was about. I was like, okay.
I'm playing my air drums.
I thought you were just
because he keeps tunnel. No. Anyways, but I really, really enjoy my alone time now. But like you said, it definitely comes in like different phases and different, like, I guess, levels. It's like an onion, you know, you keep peeling back the layers. For me recently, the layer has been basically breaking old thought patterns and loops and not letting them continue, not letting them run the way that they did, because I'm alone now, and I don't have, unless I reach out to someone on the phone and say, hey, like I'm having anxiety thinking about this and have them help me work through it instead of doing that, do it on my own.
Mm-hmm.
I talk to myself the way one of my friends would and
Right.
just kind of ask myself questions. Like,
I've learned, like, when I'm in those states, how, like, I was always like trying to reach out to people, and I was like, well, why don't I just pretend to reach out but like say it out loud? Because when I'm in my mind, I was too in my mind to be able to think. So I learned, like, so writing wasn't working for me in those moments. So what was working was talking out loud, because then I'm just spitting out, like, oh, okay, the conversation's happening before I even realize. I think I understand what's going on.
yep. And then when you say it out loud, like sometimes
It's
sometimes I don't want to say it out loud because I'm like, no, this is embarrassing. And I'm like, I'm like, girl, say it out loud. Go stand in the mirror right now and say it.
And it's like the fact that you are literally alone and you're like, this is embarrassing. I can't say this. Who the fuck is it embarrassing to? You already know the truth. So what, are you gonna embarrass yourself by hearing it? Like, no,
my ego is embarrassed.
Yeah. She's like, don't give that power.
And I'm like, what do you mean you're the one that came up with the damn thought in
like,
the first place? And she's like, no, it was you. And I'm like,
it's like, no. I was just spitting out things I took in. I wasn't thinking about it like that.
She was like, this is just your programming, babes. It's subconscious programming. And mine, more so than ever, I have realized it has been just so fear-based and judgmental. And so I've just been like deprogramming the shit out of that, honestly.
Yeah, and it's like it's a journey and a half on its own, like reprogramming your mind. I always tell people, like, your mid-20s. From anyone I've seen around me now and going through it myself, it really is like your mid-20s. I hate to say it, when your brain, when that shit's done developing, girl, it's like you finish the tutorial mode of the game and you get gifted new skills, which are feeling more in your body, getting more in your mind, and understanding that you can reprogram the shit that you just went through for all these years.
Yeah.
And it's such a weird thing to try to like break old patterns, recognize it, and then when they do come up, go, that's just old shit, bro. We're past this. And like trying to let it actually pass. Mm-hmm. It's so fucking weird.
It really it really is. Yes, man, Donna. I've been a little sick. Yeah, no, breaking the thought patterns and like catching yourself. Like I'll notice one running and I'm like, we already kind of broke that, so it doesn't get to run its full course like it used to.
And I'm like, hey, what? Like, we already did this, I thought. And it's like you really talk to yourself like a friend, like we said before. Like, talking to yourself like a friend completely changes your inner dialogue. Your inner dialogue only is the way it is because you haven't been talking to yourself as if you would talk to a friend.
Yeah, you've been talking to yourself most of the time. The way you talk to yourself is that programmed inner voice from like a parent or a caregiver.
A lot of times that's broken.
A lot of times it's broken or it's negative.
It's like a beaten machine. And so it's just kind of like you're in this quick to like, I've realized recently I have a big problem with feeling guilty. That's like one of my biggest things right now I'm dealing with, where everything makes me feel guilty. And I never realized how many things make me feel guilty. And I was talking to Sam the other day and I started crying about something. I was like, I just feel guilty. And he was like, why? And I was explaining to him how my brain was convinced that something was inevitably my fault. So I felt really guilty because of the chain that happened after something I did or said or whatever. And he's like, you do comprehend that they have nothing, they're not actually directly correlated. You did nothing wrong and we're not to blame in any capacity for this. I was like, my brain tells me I am. He's like, your brain loves to make you feel guilty. And I started thinking, like, it's so ingrained, I think, from just, I don't know, like who I was before, where it was like, once I got rid of the harsh judgment, I realized that if I'm not judging others, I was judging others so harshly because of my own like self-view of always feeling like guilty and always feeling like I'm wrong. And I was like looking for it and always looking for how I was wrong, how I was the one to blame for everything.
Wow.
And it's like I always, no matter what I go through, I always can find, my brain will always tell me how whatever happened was my fault. It could be the most obscure thing. My brain will go, no, but this is how it's your fault. And I'm starting to get to where I'm like, I might have attributed to it, sure, but nothing's 100% my fault. Life happened. It's past it. Why does it matter who's at fault for whatever stuff in the past?
Did you feel guilty a lot growing up?
Always.
Okay. Yeah. So you remember that conversation we had, and you were like, your brain is addicted to these certain types of chemicals, even if they're
addicted to being guilty.
Right. So
like,
yeah, yours is addicted to being guilty. Mine is addicted to like self-loathing and fear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That self-loathing, I'll literally when I started going through my big shift, especially around when I was microdosing on mushrooms, my big shift was realizing that I would create these fantasies in my head and play out these just like little things of like, let's say it was a person that I was into, like just being rejected by this person. For what reason? Why?
Because your body wanted to feel that, yeah.
Because I just wanted to feel that, because I felt that so much growing up, and like I was rejected and alone and scared and fearful. And once I started breaking out of that, my mind was like, whoa, we've been feeling that for 20 something years. Why are you not feeling that anymore?
Yeah, like your body doesn't comprehend good and bad. It's just feeling. So it's like you took away one of our primary feelings. Why?
And because of the size of humans' neocortex, we can make ourselves feel by just imagining a situation.
I was gonna say, your brain can't comprehend the difference between feeling something that actually happened versus something you made up. Because your brain isn't in the real world. So it doesn't know. Your brain is only knowing what's going on in the real world based off what your body tells it. So if you're running through all these scenarios of all these things and how they go wrong, your body starts feeling that. Your brain gets told you're feeling that. So now you're convinced that that's what you're feeling in real life, but it's literally you just did it yourself. So it's like when you practice, it's like I watch this TikTok, saying when you do these rehearsals, for a bad conversation, a sad conversation, or great things, you win something, whatever. Just your body feels it as if it is actually happening. That's why they say like daydreaming positive things is shown to benefit you physiologically, because you are creating these feelings that are of good, that your body is processing. Oh, I feel this good stuff all the time.
Emotional responses in your body, you're creating that. So if you create a positive experience, then
it's like you're gonna feel that.
That's what I've been trying to get into the habit of.
Yeah, I've been trying to like imagine the best possible scenario.
Me too.
That's what I've been challenging myself. When I start going like really low, where I'm like, this like, I start imagining one of the worst scenarios. I'm like, what I've been trying to do is I stop and I go, well, okay, what's the best case scenario that happens? And you start finding it. Because like I think I said last episode, I don't know if I did or not, but anything you ask your brain, it scientifically is going to try to find the answer. So if you ask it things like that, it's going to find the answer. That's what it's programmed to do. So if you are asking yourself these, why is my life turning out better for me? Why am I feeling so happy today? What your body starts looking for it, your mind starts looking for it. And when you get the answer, you go, oh, well, I am feeling good today. I am this person, because your brain has said, yeah, here's the proof. You asked for it and I gave it to you. It's like a little researcher. Like, dude.
Brain is so cute sometimes. It's like, here's the answer. It's like all based on the accumulation of your experiences and that predisposition or something.
Yeah, I like to imagine like sometimes like the brain is being like a little like cute, super autistic researcher. And so it's like you ask it a bad question, it gives you a bad result, and you're getting mad and upset, and you're like, I thought you wanted the answer. That's all it's doing. It's literally just like, okay, that they didn't want the answer. The answer hurt them. That was wrong. So that's what I imagine. So now it's caught me from being so mean. Like when I start thinking something sad, I'm like, that's not actually what I was looking for. What I'm looking for is this.
That voice.
It's like, all right, because I'd be like, why the fuck did you give me that answer? And I'm like, well, that wasn't very nice to myself that's trying to give me a good answer. It's like, it doesn't realize you're giving it a bad answer until you react to it.
That's so funny. Sometimes my brain truly feels like it's like a 6-year-old.
Yeah, 100%.
Which is really young.
Well, it's like the concept of like never truly age. So like the part of you, because time doesn't exist, so the part of you that was 6 is still there.
Right.
You just don't, like most people or never like don't nourish that side, so they think it's dead.
Right.
You think their inner child is like.
And that's where being alone comes in handy too, is because if you're not alone, you're not sitting and listening to your thoughts like that. You're not, and a lot of people, even when they are alone, still aren't listening to their thoughts like that and interacting with them. And scrolling on TikTok or Instagram or watching Snapchat stories, whatever.
Having a TV show on while they're on TikTok, while they're eating food and coloring. That's been me before.
I was like, are you like, speaking from personal experience?
Yeah, we never we've all had that day.
Oh, definitely.
They're just like
now I struggle. Yeah. Now I struggle to have a TV show on and do something on my phone at the same time because I'm like, pay attention to just one.
Well, it's hard, because it's like I have to turn something on that I actually don't care about.
Yeah. If I care about it, then I'm just gonna miss things that I want to see.
Like it's back and forth. I'll look at my phone and I'll be like, I missed something. Rewind it back.
And then you take an hour and a half to watch a 45-minute episode.
And you're like, well, that was time consuming. Not even. I try to not be on TikTok when I don't have my TV on because I will not pay attention.
I haven't gotten on TikTok in like so long. Like every now and again, I'll pop on if I'm like needing to kill a couple of minutes. But like, I definitely don't get on TikTok even daily at this point anymore.
I would say I try not to daily anymore, but I do like get on it for like, I like limit when I can get on it usually. Sometimes I'll let myself get on it after work for a little bit, but honestly, a lot of times it's like I'm allowed to get on it when I'm in the bathroom.
Yeah. I've stopped bringing my phone to the bathroom. I've pretty much broken that habit.
The times I do that, I just end up reading every bottle in the bathroom.
See, for me,
I will literally read. I've read every single bottle front and back in my bathroom so many times because I didn't bring a phone. I was just like, well, I want to read something.
Okay.
Not a thing. Okay. I thought that
I
was
mean,
so normal.
The reason it's not normal for me because I don't have any bottles in reach when I'm going to the bathroom. Like it's literally just a wall in front of me.
Magazine?
No, but
just have a potty book.
Okay, here's the thing though. I don't want one because I saw this video that really inspired me, and it was like when you leave your mind idle without doing something, that's when like the creativity and the ideas start to flow and stuff like that. And there was a point in time where I truly felt like I was not coming up with new ideas. My creativeness was just like stunted.
So it's just like one of the like slow ways you incorporate it to try to get more like time.
Yeah,
that's fair.
So yeah, I've started doing that for, I don't know, I've done it for a couple of weeks now, and I really like it because I've been also been doing it because I've been trying to get disconnected from my phone.
That's fair. I don't know if I can do it for the bathroom because I don't want to be present when I'm in the bathroom.
I let almost every single one of my Snapchat streaks die, and it's been amazing.
Well, yeah, I only have Riley and Sam, but I just talk to them every day on Snapchat. So I just also it's like there's pretty much only 2 people I talk to every day, and it's on Snapchat anyway. So it just kind of accidentally like happens. Yeah,
and there's one person. I have one friend that I talk to on Snapchat pretty much every day, so we have a streak. But
it's just like we have a streak because we're talking. If we break it, it's because we're not talking every day anymore, and that's just how it happens.
Right. And Marshall got upset when I told him I was gonna let our streak die, and I was like, "Baby, got like a 430-day streak, okay?
Over a year.
Yeah. Tap out, like it's time." And I had 500 and something days with these 2 other girls, and I messaged and texted them both. I was like, I love you so much.
But almost 2 years of you dedicating every single day to sending a snap. That's really crazy when you think about it.
Exactly. But also what I've realized is when you keep it going and like the energy's not like fresh and present, and you want to do it, you're just doing it to save the streak. Like it's like almost like this dead, heavy type feeling energy. Whereas me and Marshall had the conversation because he came over last night and he was like, by the way, it has been so nice to not have to keep up with streaks. And I just talk to you when I want to talk to you. And I'm like, same, bro. I snap you when I think about like, oh, I wonder how Marshall is. I wonder how his day is going. Like we text more than we would Snapchat.
Yeah, it's like you're not forcing like this interaction. And I don't know. I feel like obviously like streaks started, at least I remember streaks starting after high school. I don't think streaks were a thing when we were in high school.
It's only like
Yeah,
like 4 or 5 years probably.
I understand why teenagers get really hyped for the streak because you're seeing these people every fucking day anyways. And like I can see the hype when you're a teenager of having a streak with your friend. I really do. Because when I first started doing the streaks, I was obsessed with it because I feel like that part of me was having that moment. And then it was like, all right, I'm over it now. Because why the fuck do I do this?
Yeah.
It's just like,
it's just so exhausting. Like at this point, I don't think Brit's opened my Snapchat in like 4 days.
Yeah, I'm like, it's also
and I'm just like, whatever.
Like,
I would get offended by someone losing a streak, and I was like, oh my god,
yeah,
what is happening to me?
Yeah, it's like it's to the point where I'm like, it's if I understand that there are times where I wish I didn't open Snapchat or my phone for a day or a couple of days, why the flying fuck do I expect it from everyone else? So it's like, and I also like have stopped being apologetic about my slow responses. Like if it's something where I opened it and it was important, I'm like, shit, my bad. I didn't realize it was like something like someone texted me. Like apparently they texted me because they were in a really low spot the other night, but I didn't open it. I didn't know. I'm like, yo, you gotta like text me what the hell or call me.
Yeah,
I had no.
I'm like, if it's important, call me. My phone's on do not disturb, but if you call twice, it will ring.
Like, see, mine not gonna disturb. If you call me, I'll probably answer. If I don't, just text me emergency.
Literally.
But Snapchat, I can't look at it until I open it, so I don't know. Like, I don't have that ability to like pre-glance it. So I'm like, I have no concept until I open it. So like, there are people where like I literally didn't open their message for 2 weeks because I wasn't feeling social. I just didn't get around to it. And I'm like, if you have a problem with it, I understand you want people like in your life that are more available for you. That's fine if you want to make that boundary and step away. I'm just letting you know this is currently what my capability is.
Yeah, like I am at a point in my life where I cannot make myself available to anybody and everybody constantly because of fear of them needing me or them being in some type of, and that definitely originated from high school, my teen years, where I had lots of suicidal friends that would be texting me in the middle of the night wanting to kill themselves or self-harming, you know. And then I did have a friend that killed himself, and so I was like, oh my god, like that reinforced that. I was like, what if someone, like, I prided myself sleeping with my phone next to me with the ringer on, whatever. And it got to a point where I was just like, it kept waking me up, and I was like, I can't do this anymore.
There was a point where I had the same thing where it was just like constantly being afraid that somebody was going to need me. I wouldn't be there for them if something bad would happen. But again, now I reflect back. Yeah, reflecting back, it's because my body's addicted to guilt. Because my body was addicted to that feeling of you're gonna be guilty if you don't do it. So it was like, even though nothing happened, the thought alone that I would feel guilty if I wasn't there for someone. Anytime I didn't open their message, I felt guilty.
Yep.
I don't open their messages. If I look like right now, if I go and look at my Snapchat, on a good day I can look at it and not give a shit. If I'm slightly off, I look at it and I'm overwhelmed with guilt. All these people are trying to message me and I haven't opened their message them. They probably feel awful. Girl,
they done forgot that they even messaged you.
If they care that much, that's cool. But I mean,
I just don't have space for it.
Yeah,
like
it's like
right
it's nothing
now,
personal.
Yeah, right now I have to put me first because I spent too many years not putting me first, and that's, like you said, my body was addicted to being abandoned.
Yeah, it's like when there's certain things where you're just like, oh, I was looping old loops, and like,
I was afraid that if I wasn't there for somebody, they would get mad and then they would leave my life, be like, you weren't there when I needed you.
Right.
And so that was mine tying in with the abandonment. So it wasn't necessarily guilt, but it was the fear of.
Right. Well, I feel like if you look at it on like a frequency chart, guilt and fear are very close frequencies. That's why there's a lot of similar things that trigger them. So it's like we had very similar, like different, like there are some patterns we had that were very similar. It was just for slightly different reasons. Where it was like I have had like fear. My biggest like fear problem was always just fear of dying. That's why I didn't do stuff in the physicality. But guilt has always been the thing that runs my mind. Like I did things because I didn't want to feel guilty. Anyone asked me to do something, yes, because I don't want to say no and feel guilty that I wasn't helping.
Right. My friend recommended this book to us after watching our fear episode.
It's called the one you're reading now?
No, it's called How to Stop Worrying and Start Living.
Oh wait, no, I have seen that. I think it was on my like list of books I wanted to get. I saw like
I want to start reading it because Since we filmed that episode, I've realized even deeper, like how deep my fear-based living, existing, programming, thinking goes.
So the book I'm still reading that Don't Believe Everything You Think. I think it's the name of the book. That's the one I'm still reading. I haven't finished it. I think I'm like halfway through. It's not a big book. I just haven't touched it in a couple days.
Bro, The Body Keeps the Score. It's pretty decently big. Like, I mean,
okay.
I'm like that thick. And I think I'm probably about a fourth of the way through it. But I can only read like.
I remember you said that it's like really like heavy with information.
Mm-hmm. Like there's a lot of experiments talked about. Like I'm highlighting something on every page.
That's fair.
So
see Don't Believe Everything You Think or whatever the title is. That one I feel like is more, it's smaller, it's probably like this thick. I feel like so far everything I've read is pretty easy to digest. Like I've read some books that were like it took me a minute because they were a lot. Whereas like this one I feel like the way the guy wrote it is very chill and very just being like, you ever know, and he's like you know, you ever realize that you know what you're thinking and how it's affecting you? And he's like, let me give you an example, and it's like the most like basic ass example, and he's like, yo, you did that. He's like, you see how like you ran with your mind and created something that didn't exist. And it's like he differentiates between what is thinking and what is thoughts, and understanding the difference, that you can differentiate the two and understand that like a thought is input output. It's nothing else. And thinking is when you're interacting with that thought. So if you're overthinking, it's because you won't get out of it. You keep interacting with the thought. But the thought itself is just input output. It's gonna flow and keep going. So when you're thinking,
how do you break that input output thought though? Because I've done really well with the not thinking and trying not to interact with it and going and being present in the moment, whatever. But like, I swear to God, if Britt doesn't text back for like 12 hours, she's dead. Like, I'm convinced that she's dead. Something has happened, and
well, that's
she's
definitely
dead.
some deeply embedded trauma.
But I was having those thoughts, like literally, I'm not kidding y'all. Every single day of school in the fifth and sixth grade, I think, I would have so much anxiety about my mom dying.
That's like a common thing for some kids.
Well, I think it was right after the divorce too. Like I already didn't have my biological father in my life. I had a stepdad that I was aware was my stepdad from a very young age, so I wasn't able to understand the gravity of that situation. So it just sucked, and I was like, oh, he's not my real dad. So like, I don't know. It was weird. But I would literally think about my mom dying, and I would get a stomach ache, and like, I would have so much anxiety, and I would be like, my stomach hurts. I have to go to the nurse, and so I would like go to the nurse just to call. Thing. Yeah.
So yeah, your reason for always assuming Brittany is dead.
It switched from my mom to Brittany.
Yeah, because it was the.
Because I don't worry about my mom.
It was the I also think it's you know, like mommy issues. You know, where it's like you just your mommy issues go on to any divine feminine in your life, until they're healed. Which is why like straight men treat their like who have mommy issues treat their women so weird, like a mommy, because it literally just transfers to whatever divine feminine is in your life that you look to until it's like healed. So I don't know why you originally was like paranoid about your mother dying. I do know it's like a thing that like some kids like have, but
the abandonment one.
It's probably like the combination, I guess. I don't know. It's interesting that it was like death specifically. If you didn't deal with like death early on in your life, like did you have people that died or like that were like close to you?
Not really. I had pets. Pets died, but I think the earliest person I remember dying was not even blood relation to me, but we went and visited her all the time. We called her Grandma Kay. But I think she was just my grandma's friend.
Was it before or after?
Between 4 and 6.
Okay, well that's probably why you were quite young dealing with the death. That's actually not like, I won't say it's not normal because death is really common now, but it's not best for the human psyche because you're still trying to understand what's going on. So very early, before your morals and your brain was done trying to get a Morse code, it understood that there was someone that was in your life, very important to you, and they died, and it was sudden. You didn't have anything, so it was like it kind of. I could see how that would put you a little on edge. also it was a woman. So I think that would add to why it was like your mom specifically you were thinking, because it was just like an older woman to you at that like young of an age.
She was just really old and died of old age. I don't know. But here's the thing. I just remembered also when I was really young, I was probably just a couple years old. My grandma told this to me like not long ago. She was like, you were there when Uncle Sonny died. Like you were sitting on my lap and we were sitting next to him when he died.
How old were you?
Like 2 or 3.
Okay, so like, you have. How are you gonna tell me you don't have a lot of death early on in your life?
I didn't remember that. My grandma told me this a few months ago.
That's fair.
I was like, what? She was like, yeah, you wanted to be there. I was like, you should not have let me sit on your lap while this man died.
So that's 2 deaths that you dealt with before the age of 6, which is when you're like, they say around
the age
6
of reason is like 7.
Yeah, it's like 6 and 7 is like the age where your brain basically, and like religion, it means whatever bullshit, but the scientific pulling is because that's when you stop being as much as a sponge and you start kind of creating, you have your morals in your mind, but you start actively basically participating in the trial, like the tutorial mode. So you start kind of being a little more like sentient for the most part. Some people are younger, some are older, whatever, but that's kind of like the average age. So that is interesting that like before the age of your brain kind of understanding what it like morals, like the basic rules of it going into life, you had dealt with like death twice, even though it wasn't like super close to you or whatever, emotional, like it was something that you at least were aware of. I wasn't like,
yeah, I don't remember being emotional about them at all.
I was like 7.5, 8 when my grandpa El died. Until then, and he died from cancer. Until then, I didn't really understand what death was because I didn't deal with it in my early life. So like people that deal with death before the age of 6 typically have a different understanding of going in like with death because they have a different experience. Like I didn't understand it. I was just like, gone. I didn't understand what the hell that meant. I just knew everyone's sad and they just said he's gone, but I never dealt with it early on, where a lot of people that have death early on, they start questioning it earlier. So they start getting different answers. So they start pulling their own conclusions a little like more. Okay. Also, like I could see how if you were a fearful child mixed with death like things, you could like spin on being like, what if she dies? And like just running with that. So I could see how that was like a thing. Interesting.
Well, thank you for helping me dissect that. Because I truly have always wondered why the hell I did that. Because like at this point, like, and I've tried having my higher self's understanding of death and seeing that it's just the end of the ego. It's not really a big deal. And I try to explain that to little me, my little inner child, and she's just like not having it.
Well, the thing is too,
I don't know how to conceptualize it for her.
Because it will never be conceptualized to the ego, because while the soul understands, the spiritual side understands what death is death to the ego. It is gone, is permanent to the ego. The ego will always hurt because it is death to the ego. It is eternal death to the ego. So the ego does have to mourn that.
Well,
so it's shit. Like, yeah, it's like your spiritual side, no matter what, like for instance, when my grandma Grace died, my spiritual side was like, we understand, what death is. Good, she was older, she's fine. Like, why are we so upset? And it was like, because yes, I understand that the energy that is her, I'm hopeful she's in now a life that will end up being better than the one she was in current, like in the past, good or bad, like, those type of things. My ego had to grasp this person is gone and there's nothing that will ever bring them back. There will never be another Grace. Like, there will never be another one of her. And so that part of you that is impermanent has to feel that, because it also plays your mind that one day that will be you. And so that's what also plays into your ego mourning, is comprehending that life is fragile and one day that will be me, and I will never see these people again. So your ego does have to feel things in a different way, because things are permanent to the ego after death. So it's like you have to, like, it's weird because like what it means,
right?
But your ego is still going to feel it because it is permanent to them. That's weird, because it's like you can be one place and like some people, like you get used to it. Like some people, they say like a lot of exposure to funerals and death, like
I feel
used to it. I could definitely see that, but
I've just had to bury too many people, I think, in my life.
Yeah. Right, like I was telling Kaylin, like when I went to my grandma Grace's funeral, I was sitting outside before I went in, and I was like, "Does it ever get easier, like to attend funerals and embrace like death?" And she's like, "I won't say easier is the word, because she's been through like Kaylin, I think, is probably the person that I know that has experienced the most death.
Okay.
Like she's seen people literally drop and die on a cruise.
Oh wow.
Someone she was close to, and she's had a lot of like death that she's had to go through very early on in her life. Mm-hmm. So I asked her, does it ever get easier? She's been to like over 20 funerals, and she's like, I won't say easier, but you at least it's easier to go through the actions because it's more routine. Yeah. Because I was like, it took me 20 minutes to walk into the funeral. I could not get myself to get out of the car and walk in. I'm like, why? And she's like, because this is only like your third funeral. Yeah. In your entire 27 years of life. Oh, she's like, wow. I don't have a lot of it. Like I've been to
like 15.
I've been to Papa Eo, the Pericone boy. Pretty sure Caleb was the one that died. So I was like, what, 13? I was like 7.5, 13. Went to my grandma Georgie a couple years ago, and then my grandma Grace. So 4. Gotcha. My entire life. So I'm like, I just don't have a lot of experience. She's like, it gets like the things you have to do.
It's crazy. When I was 18, Josh killed himself. And so I went to that funeral in 2014. 6 months later, my powerlifting coach died. To that funeral. 6 months after that, my father died.
Well, so they
did not get put in therapy after any of that. But after that, a couple years later, this boy that I went to high school with, he was a couple of grades younger than me, but he was on the powerlifting team. And so I knew him. We weren't friends, but we were acquaintances, and I'd, helped him and talked to him about powerlifting, whatever. He passed away in a driving accident, and I was friends with a lot of his friends and like actually close with them like after high school. And I went to the funeral to be there for all of my friends because I had dealt with death so much, and I felt just so comfortable, and was like, the grief process, I wanted to be there for them and help console them. And then not even a year later, I think another one of their friends died very violently. And I was actually friends with him. I kept up with him after high school and even had seen him a couple of times, and he was stabbed to death. It was really fucked up. And so I went to that funeral to be there for them as well. And like we all got closer through that. But I mean, I wasn't like very close with either one of them, but felt drawn to be.
Yeah, it's definitely from your like experience. So like I'm imagining, I can't, like, if someone asked me to go for moral support, I would go, but I can't imagine ever offering because I know I have no fucking judgment. Like if I was at a funeral with like a friend and they were really mourning, I'd be like, I'm here for you. Like I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. I felt so awkward at every funeral I've been to. I'm just like, I'm grieving. I'm sitting here like, what do I do?
See, and I think that's maybe the plus that I got from being around death so early is because, like, I don't know, like my grandma said that when I sat on her lap when my Uncle Sonny died, I wasn't crying, I wasn't fazed by it. She was upset, but she, like, I guess felt comfort from me somehow. So I think I've maybe always just had that like comforting type of feeling around grief. Some people just kind of have that presence.
It's even kind of like
oh my god, I remembered another funeral that I went to where I really wasn't even like close to the person, but it was my friend's dad, my best friend's dad.
Well, I and like see that, yeah.
I remember like just putting my hand on her mom while she was sobbing and just like feeling myself drawing some of that grief energy from her. I was like, I was doing Reiki. At the time I was praying over her, but thinking of it in a Catholic sense, but I was definitely like it's drawing like some energy. It is all phrases. I different names.
I saw some TikTok the other day where they were like, don't you love that like almost every religion is the same concepts worded slightly different, and we have war over the phrasing.
Ego.
We have murdered people over just using a different metaphor. As a metaphor autistic, that's wild. That's like I'm comparing everything to a video game. Someone compares everything to something totally different, and we're like, that's fucked up. Like, it's just a fucking metaphor. It's wild. It's like,
it is pretty crazy.
Words are so stupid. Like, they mean nothing. We just gave words meaning, and then we're gonna kill people over the meanings that we made up.
It is pretty crazy.
God, society, stupid. I saw this fucking thing. Oh my god, I saw this TikTok earlier. I don't know. I got into the side of people like dissing Christians on TikTok, and so I was like, isn't it wild that like Christians' heaven is just communism, and Christians' hell is our judicial system, like prisons. Like, what's up with that? That's what heaven and hell is to them. But it goes into because I believe heaven and hell is supposed to like be metaphorical. I don't think when you die you go to heaven and hell. I think life is heaven or hell, and so I think that
agreed.
That's
I feel that same way.
Where they were like, their heaven is just communism. We all live happily, all as one unit. Everything is provided. Everything's fine. Like, we're all equal. So their heaven is literally something we could have on earth, and we just don't strive for it. And their hell is getting locked up for something minor, getting tortured and killed and repeatedly and never getting out for it. So you mean like people who get like weed charges in the prisons now? Like, it's crazy. I'm like, heaven and hell exist on earth. We're just choosing to live in the in-between right now for some reason. As a society, we're choosing to live in the in-between closer to hell. Life is a spectrum. We're just sitting in the wrong side.
We're in the wrong color right now.
Yeah, we need to keep shimmying over to the
left. Anyways, I think we've rambled enough today.
Yeah, I don't even know how long we've been talking for.
Oh, it was close to an hour, but
really did that.
It happens every time.
Yeah. We'll talk.
Sometimes we're very planned for you guys and we know exactly what we're going to talk about, plus adding in a few stories. And then sometimes we do what we did today and we pick a topic and we're like,
let's go. Well, I was say last week we literally had
a whole page of notes.
With notes. Yeah. And then this week we were like, let's just start talking and then open one of these and figure it out.
Yeah. I think we talked about being alone for like first half of it.
Yeah. We did talk about death. So like that was, I don't even get on that train of thought. I don't know. But you know, hopefully that helps. Happens.
Hopefully provided some
insight in some capacity
during our chaotic conversations.
Even if it's just like you being like, you know what? I think the same thing. I'm confused as shit too. Like, you know what? Solidarity. Be all together.
Thank you for joining us on episode 3 of the Ethereal Podcast. See you next week.